I'm glad to see you again. There's a trick to the timing of being a speaker at one of these events. You want to arrive about when people are fully caffeinated, but hopefully just before they got to pee. So I'm just hoping I've timed my appearance here correctly. And I want to give a little shout out to One Northside people, and I want to say hi to Hill House because I sure had a good time with y'all last time I was here. And I'm here today for one reason only, to encourage you in everything you're doing. I have a deep passion for people who work for community. And I want to talk about what makes a great city. And I believe that the greatest cities in the world are the most welcoming cities. These are the cities that in every way have found a means to make everyone feel like there's a place for you here, that you can not only live in this city, but you can walk down the street in this city, you can get a cup of coffee in this city, you can get an education in this city, you can get a job in a city. That's the measure of a great city. It's not the infrastructure, it's not the building, it's not all the other fancy stuff we like to talk about. It's the successful cities are the cities that can turn the desperation that people feel into participation. And this is what you're all about, and this is what all of you are trying to do. So how do we do it? So I have to tell you, in Houston, this would be our moat. We think this is the greatest tool for transformation ever. About every few years, we bulldoze everything and build something new. I don't recommend it. It's not a good approach. And I'll tell you what's also happened too many times is we've really bulldozed over things. We've bulldozed over history and culture and stories and places that mattered to people. And we didn't ask them and we didn't include them. And really, there's just two reactions to being left out, to being written off. One is rage, the other despair. And they're both expensive. And when the invoice comes due, it's going to cost much, much more than it would have to do it right in the first place. So, because there's something about us, in our spirit, we don't want to be told that we don't matter, that we don't count, that what matters to us is not a part of the equation. So much community development work now has to start with I'm sorry. Because when we go into community, we're standing on sacred ground. And it's the ground where people have lived their lives and raised their families and cared for their children and dreamed and hoped and worked for a better future. And we're standing on that ground where people have spilt their blood and energy toward that future. And oftentimes, horrible things have happened before we arrive. And you can never be a good leader. You can never be a real community developer if you can't stand on that ground and own that and say, I am so sorry. So sorry for what came before. So sorry that with all we knew to do, it was not enough and it left you out. And I'm sorry for the losses, the things that mattered to you that inadvertently or intentionally got wiped away in the name of something greater. I'm sorry for the hurt that caused. When I try to explain this to certain folks, and I'll just say folks that look like me, my people, somewhat slow, they say things like, well, I didn't do it. And that wasn't my decision, and I didn't have that kind of power. And I say, honey first, because, I'm doing all I can to help my people get across the line that they've been standing on the wrong side of for a long time. So I say, honey, when you go to a funeral and someone has died, you didn't kill them. But do you not still say to the people, I am so sorry for your loss? Now, if you can manage that, then you can manage an I'm sorry for things that you didn't directly do, right? You can do that. So this is the premise of everything. All of my work has been premised upon this set of beliefs. One, I think there are 3 glorious universal aspirations: earn, learn, and belong. I'm Cajun. We got to keep it simple. We're not fancy people, so we can remember stuff like this. Everyone wants to earn. There's not a soul I've ever met that in some way doesn't long to feel they have something to offer that the world wants. People want to learn. We all wish to be treated as though we're not a finished project, but a person with potential to grow and develop. And we desperately want that for our children. Everyone wants that. So, and the third is belong. To be in a place and stand on ground that we feel in some way has welcomed us, where we have legitimacy. So, and that is turned that whole question of, is there a place for me in the world? Whether or not the answer is yes, turns on our belief about, is there enough to go around? Is there enough for everyone? And I will go to the grave acting as if there is enough to go around. We don't have a scarcity problem. We have a distribution problem. We can change that. So when the question that is in all of us as we're young and as we're old and as we're growing up and as we're struggling and as we're thriving, the question of, is there a place for me in the world? The answer from every city has to be yes. Yes, you are welcome here. Yes, you belong here. And for that to be true, for us to make that a fact in our development efforts, we have to start with a new question, not a bulldozer in the name of progress, not paving over our past, but a brand new question. And the way we look at places then has to start with the story. And by the way, this is one of my teammates at BakerRipley, and he's a force of nature, and he knows the story of his neighborhood. He is the expert on his neighborhood and his community. And the first new question is, who owns the story? And the second set of questions is, what gives life to this neighborhood? Where have people been the happiest? Where have they done their best work? Where are the places in this neighborhood when someone comes to visit you? It's the first place you take them. So in the name of progress, we improve all of that. We bulldoze it, erase it, improve upon it, and destroy the very thing that was the heart and soul of the neighborhood. There's a different way to invest, and you can invest by saying to people, show us the places that matter to you. Take that aesthetic as your guiding principle for how new places should be created. Look at the color and shape and form and materials that people have chosen for themselves when they were left to make it up on their own. Honor that. And when you come up with your brilliant designs, make it look like it was already there. We've done that now in a community inside of Houston, but not of Houston, because Houston, in its ambition to annex everything that would properly pay its way in taxes, we annexed around Aldine, because Aldine was never going to pay its way in taxes. So in the inside of the fourth largest city is a community that is in the city, but not of the city. And so people in Aldine decided that, having been left on their own, they'd just do exactly what they wanted. Minus the ordinances, they built what they liked. And they built it the way they wanted it to work. And they built it with the materials they had available. And our first principle in working with them, first, go where you're invited, do what you're asked to do. Our first principle was, whatever we build with this community needs to look like it was already here, and it was already of their own dream and their own making. So when you go to communities, the leaders that we need, the people that we need, they're already there. And in this city, I want to say to you, all the people that are needed to make this a great city, they're already here. There are so many headlines in this country and so many conversations that sound like, oh, we'd be a great city if only we had better people. We'd be a fabulous country if we could just find better people. And I honestly don't understand where that comes from. These are our people. There's no planet nearby with the Human Resources Department where we go get better people. So every city, it's about investments in people. Those are permanent, they last, and if we treat the people as the first resource and make them the city, then we'll have success. For community developers, these are my words for you. Be relentless. These messages, this way of working, the world's not going to embrace it. Your arms are going to grow tired from swimming upstream against a tide of people that want another needs assessment. You're going to be weary of the number of times you feed bureaucracies with data about how bad it is. But you keep swimming. You be relentless in the call out of the strengths. You listen deeply. You listen twice and you only build once. And when you do that, then you build vibrant places like this one that reflect the dreams of community. And you come together as a community with a sense of belonging, with a sense of a shared understanding of your city and what it's all about. And that's going to be really important, very important, because as it turns out, when the unthinkable happens, you need one another. And the unthinkable always happens. We live in a world, I have to always break the news to people, this ain't heaven, it's earth. Shit goes wrong. And, that's it. And, it started raining in Houston last year, and it just kept raining, and it rained some more, because, in Texas, we're going to do it. Even if we screw it up, we're going to do it real big. So we did Harvey real big, and we really, really needed each other. And we remembered, again, how vital community is and how much we must be together in the spirit of what makes a city great and own that. So we have a new joke in Houston. How many guys does it take to float a pickup truck? As it turns out, one from every country. That's how we do it. So I want to leave you with this. You own this city. You own its past, and the ground that you stand on, and all the heartbreak and hope that's in that soil beneath your feet. You own the future, and what it becomes will largely be the work that you do. You're responsible. So if it happens here, it's you. It's under your watch. Live here as if it's really your home. And every single person, every other person you meet here is an honored guest. Because embedded in every injustice and every heartbreak and every sad thing that's happened is also this fervent hope for a future that's different. And one you're going to create that where everybody belongs, where everyone has access to opportunity. And if you devote your life to that, I promise, you'll have no regrets. And I will cheer you on. And so thank you so much for having me again and for the warmth of your welcome.